plot of land during this weekend, 3 days ago. And what you do when you seed turf grass is, once you've seeded, you do roll, come with a roller and roll over. And then immediately after rolling, you will be as quickly as you can to spread a thin layer of manure. So obviously you can see the dark spot here is manure or slurry, which is was taken from the tanks up there. Oh, I better go into the behind the pallets here, because I'm not sure if you can hear me very well, but it's quite windy. The problem we had with after seeding and after spraying the slurry is that we got a little bit of rain, which kind of washed away. It didn't wash away the slurry, but it made it go down into the soil very quickly. And once we had this little bit of rain, the sun came, and of course the wind came as well. So the topsoil, or the top layer that is covering the seed, is very thin. This is a sandy silt or sandy soil. There's no clay content whatsoever, so all water is, you get a little bit of wind, you get a little bit of sun, it dries up very quickly. So, and that leaves you with the problem we're having here, which is wind erosion, and that is a nightmare. So it's only the eastern part of the plot here, which is probably around 10 acres. And you would say, well, 10 acres, that's not a lot. But when you're doing turf grass, 10 acres is actually quite a lot. So what we need to do now is we have to assess whether we're gonna actually reseed. If we were really quick about it, we could spray another thin layer of slurry, but we don't want to run the machines too many times on top of the soil before the germination has started, because this is thin seed and the depth is not so deep as you would do with normal crops, as corn or soybean or another. It's just right under the, maybe just a half a thumb down, you will have the turf grass seeds. So we will probably have to reseed, and then again you have to run over the roller, and then again you have to do the slurry part again, and you have to pray to God that you don't get more rain and more wind. But these are the challenges we are facing during the seeding, and we seed all year around. It's not like we have seeding is done during spring and harvesting is done during the autumn time. We do this continuously throughout the year. So here we have grass that is ready for harvest. We seeded that field up there 3 weeks ago, and it's about to pop out, the grass. And this was done this weekend. You can see that's spillage. You can see this is the manure, which becomes like a coating on top of the soil. And once they get rain, this crust leaves, and the seeds are just right under here. Here you can just scratching a few times, you will see the seed popping out. So obviously, when you have that much wind erosion, the seed will become exposed, and they are very volatile, so they will just fly off to the neighbor's farm. So we just have to assess and see. There's probably not going to be seeds left, and usually what happens is that all the seeds are moved from the north part and over, so you have a really thick and nice turf laying in the end of the field, and then it will be just thin out. So we probably have to reseed. We don't run the cultivator or plow or anything. It's quite easy. We just go in with a seeder and put the seeds straight down and run over with the roller once more to compact the soil, or the sand, so to say, around it, and then spread again manure. But you want to be a little bit careful with the manure. You want just to have a thin layer. You don't want to have a big crust of manure laying on top of it, because that will pose a challenge later on. So we don't do the slurry for nutritional purposes. It's only to do a coating layer on top to prevent wind erosion, and you can see it works really well here on this part and not so well over there. So my guess is that they were spraying a little bit too thin in the beginning, and then they figure out, oh Jesus, this is not good, so we have to slow down and get a thicker layer on top of it. But it's very windy, so these are some of the challenges we have. Preferably it's easier to do this in the end of summer when the weather is nice and we don't have as much wind as we do now, because May is usually a very windy month and a very dry month as well in this part of the region. So today we took out the water cannon and we have flushed the pipelines, so we are ready to go with this one, because it's starting to get very dry. Even though we had a little bit of rain during the weekend, it's not enough, because when you have the wind combined with sun, it just evaporates. You will not get it down to the soil. So yeah, so that was just a quick update of one of the challenges we are having. So I just have to fix it, basically. So assessment time is over, and we decided to try and save the seeds with spraying manure or slurry on top of it. So we are going as fast as we can. We have 2 slurry tanks, but one is one is trying to save another field at a different location. You can see from the road here, it's so dry and dusty, and you want to drive towards the wind. So this is like a slurry 101. Always face the wind when you are driving with a slurry tanker, because you don't want to have that in the back window. You will see at the speed he is doing. I'm not going to go out because it's so bloody windy. You can see on the speed he will start up and go in a relatively fast pace, faster than what you normally would do if you're gonna spray slurry for nutritional purposes. Then you adjust the speed of your tractor, because this is a PTO driven slurry tanker, so you will adjust the amount of slurry by basically slowing down, or you can overlapping, meaning that you will reduce the spacing between where you're driving. So you would just overlap the half of the width of the slurry that you spread out, but that leaves you to actually drive on the manure when you are spraying, and that's something you won't do when you're doing coating. But it broke off, so now we're just using this tractor-driven pump. It goes a lot faster when you're running with 2 slurry tanks. So what's happening now is stirring up, because it's a lot of water inside this because of rain. So you want to stir up because the solid content goes on the bottom and the water comes on top. You want to make sure you stir up very well before you drive it out. little bit of cutting. Usually we do that every second or every 3 days. We come and cut. So you can see from the rubber tires there, tractor. These are not your regular tractor tires. So these are specially made for going on turf grass. There you have the Fendt, 130 horsepower with the same wheel setup. So these two tanks are connected with a pipe. There's a valve on top of there, so you can close, meaning that you can empty one and leave that one full. And the reason why you want to do that is because once you open the valve and you don't want to do a lot of mixing, it will just flush through, and it helps with agitating the slurry. And also, if you don't really need to have to fill up two tanks, it's easier just to fill up one if you just are going to transport out a little bit of slurry, because there is no animals on this farm, so all the slurry that we are taking into these tanks are from other farmers. So if you have a little bit that you want to put in, you don't want to have the valve open, because then you will just have a little bit slurry at the bottom of two tanks. So you want to fill up one tank before you start moving over to the different tank. This tank is originally it was a compost tank where we would get fat from the pelt industry, where they do the tanning process. So they would come with the fats and stored in this tank, and we would add manure from our barn behind the trees up there. There's also a line connecting into this tank, and you would start in blow air into the tank and start a fermentation process. Get two things of that. Of course you get the manure part of it, but you also get the increase of pH. So it's kind of have a like a lime function. Oh, traffic jam. So he will go down to the other fields and continue cutting there, or trimming, so to say. It's not cutting, it's trimming. So when this tank is was finished with the compost, you would then move it down to the two storage tanks down there, connected with a pipe. So we're using free fall, so we don't have to pump. Starting there, floating down there, and into the storage, the big storage tanks. But now we're not using this one. We can, because there's a lid on top where you can pump in. This is for air purpose, so you don't put in manure that one, but you will go on top, open the lid, because it's a closed. You see that on here is a concrete frame on top. We have a better overview here. So you have the two storage tanks, the compost tank there, and the original, you know, slurry pit from the barn over there. So this is how it looks. Time to go in. So